There are certain things a woman must always keep to herself, not out of secrecy, but out of wisdom. In every relationship, balance is key. A woman's strength is not just in what she says, but in what she chooses not to say. Not because she is hiding, but because she understands that mystery, resilience, and self-respect are some of her greatest assets. Today we're talking about 5 things a woman should always keep private when it comes to a man. Not because relationships should be built on secrets, but because some things are meant to be protected, nurtured, and revealed only at the right time. Every person has insecurities. They are part of being human, part of growing, and part of learning about ourselves. But for a woman, her insecurities should be her own battle to fight, not something she hands over to a man, expecting him to fix. True confidence and self-worth are built from within, not given by someone else. When a woman constantly shares her deepest insecurities with a man, expecting him to provide reassurance, she unknowingly gives away her power. She begins to rely on his validation rather than her own self-belief. The problem with this is that no amount of external reassurance can fill an internal void. A compliment today might make her feel good for a moment, but the same insecurity will return tomorrow unless she decides to confront it herself. Men by nature are problem solvers. When a woman continuously expresses her insecurities, many men instinctively try to fix them. But emotions are not problems to be solved. They are experiences to be understood, processed, and overcome through self-awareness and inner work. A man might say, "You're beautiful," or "You have nothing to worry about." But if a woman doesn't believe that for herself, his words will always feel temporary. The truth is, when a woman leans too much on a man for emotional reassurance, it can change the dynamic of the relationship. Instead of a partnership, it becomes an emotional crutch. Over time, this can lead to frustration because no one wants to feel like they have to constantly convince someone of their worth. The most powerful women are not the ones without insecurities. They are the ones who own them without making them the center of attention. They recognize their flaws, but do not let those flaws define them. They have moments of doubt, but do not let doubt control their self-admission. They build their confidence from their own actions, accomplishments, and self-reflection, not from someone else's approval. This doesn't mean a woman should never be vulnerable. Vulnerability is important in relationships. It builds trust and emotional connection. But there is a difference between sharing feelings and seeking constant reassurance. A confident woman knows when to share and when to handle things on her own. For example, if a woman feels insecure about her career, instead of seeking a man's validation, she should focus on self-improvement, taking action, setting goals, and proving to herself that she is capable. If she struggles with body image, instead of constantly asking, "Do I look okay?" she should work towards self-acceptance, making healthy choices that make her feel strong and confident in her own skin. A man will respect and admire a woman who stands firm in her self-worth, who works through her insecurities without relying on him to erase them. Confidence is attractive, but self-reliance is powerful. When a woman learns to overcome her insecurities from within, she becomes unstoppable, not because she has no flaws, but because she refuses to let them control her. At the end of the day, self-worth is an inside job. No relationship, no compliment, and no amount of external validation can replace the strength that comes from believing in yourself. A woman who masters this doesn't just win in relationships, she wins in life. Predictability can be comforting, but when it comes to relationships, it can also lead to complacency. A woman who is entirely predictable in her actions, responses, and decisions risks losing a sense of mystery and excitement, 2 key elements that keep attraction alive. This doesn't mean playing games or being deceptive. It means maintaining an element of surprise, personal growth, and independence that keeps a man intrigued. Predictability often stems from routine, from doing the same thing, saying the same words, and responding in the same way. When a man knows exactly how a woman will react to every situation, there is little room for curiosity, admiration, or the natural push and pull that makes relationships thrive. One of the most attractive qualities in a woman is her ability to keep evolving. She should never allow herself to become stagnant, whether in her career, her interest, or her personal growth. When a man sees that she is always learning, changing, and striving for more, he is naturally drawn to her energy. A woman who surprises him with new ideas, challenges him intellectually, or introduces him to new experiences keeps the connection alive. A predictable woman is one who always says yes, always follows the same routine, and never challenges the status quo. She becomes too easy to read, too easy to anticipate, and eventually too easy to take for granted. But when a woman maintains a level of independence, unpredictability, and excitement, she keeps a man engaged, not because she is difficult, but because she is constantly growing and bringing something new to the relationship. This applies to emotional responses as well. When a man expects the same reaction every time, whether it's anger, jealousy, or immediate forgiveness, the dynamic becomes one-sided and predictable. A woman should never be so easily defined that her emotions and decisions become routine. She should challenge expectations, keep him on his toes, and set the standard for how she wants to be treated. For example, if a woman is always available the moment he calls, always waiting for his text, always accommodating his schedule, she becomes someone he assumes will always be there. But a woman who prioritizes her own time, who surprises him with her decisions, and who isn't always waiting in the same place is someone he will work harder to keep. The key is balance. A woman doesn't need to be unpredictable in a way that causes instability or confusion, but she should always have a sense of adventure, a drive for growth, and a willingness to break routine. Whether it's learning a new skill, taking a spontaneous trip, or simply responding to situations in a way that isn't expected, she keeps the relationship dynamic and engaging. Men respect and admire women who are full of surprises, not because they're playing games, but because they are too full of life to be placed into a predictable pattern. She should never be so easily figured out that there is nothing left to discover. At the core of this idea is independence. A woman who continues to evolve, who makes decisions for herself, and who isn't afraid to disrupt the norm, is one who keeps a man intrigued. Her next move should always inspire curiosity, admiration, and a deeper desire to understand her. Because the moment she becomes predictable, she risks becoming ordinary, and extraordinary women are never easy to forget. True sacrifice is silent. It is not a tool for leverage, nor is it a currency for validation. A woman's strength is not measured by how loudly she announces what she has given up, but by how gracefully she carries the weight of her choices without expectation of recognition. The reality is that in any meaningful relationship, whether romantic, familial, or professional, sacrifices are inevitable. A woman will make choices that put others before herself. She will give her time, her energy, and sometimes even her dreams to support the people she loves. But the mistake many women make is believing that their sacrifices must be acknowledged in order to be valued. When a woman constantly reminds a man of what she has given up for him, what she has done for him, or how much she has endured, it shifts the dynamic of the relationship. It turns love into a transaction. It creates an unspoken debt, a feeling that he must now repay her in some way. But true love, true partnership, and true selflessness do not work that way. If a sacrifice is made from the heart, it does not need to be spoken aloud to hold meaning. Men do notice. Even if they do not always say it, they feel it. But the most impactful sacrifices are the ones that are given freely, without expectation of return. When a woman constantly seeks validation for what she has done, it does not strengthen the relationship, it weakens it. Instead of being seen as an act of love, it becomes a reminder of obligation. There is a quiet power in a woman who carries her sacrifices with dignity. She does not need to make a man feel guilty for what she has done for him. She does not need to list the ways she has compromised. Instead, she understands that everything she gives is her choice, and she owns that choice fully. This does not mean a woman should allow herself to be taken for granted. There is a difference between silent sacrifice and silent suffering. A woman should never give so much of herself that she loses her identity. She should never sacrifice so much that she is left with nothing. But the key is in knowing when to speak and when to let actions speak for themselves. A man respects a woman who gives without demanding recognition, but he also respects a woman who knows when to stop giving when it is no longer appreciated. This is the balance. A woman should be willing to sacrifice for love, but never at the cost of her own self-worth. The most powerful women do not need to remind anyone of what they have done. They simply live in a way that makes their strength undeniable. They do not use their sacrifices as weapons. They do not bring up past struggles as proof of their worth. They simply are. And that presence, that quiet confidence, commands more respect than any words ever could. At the end of the day, the greatest sacrifices a woman makes will never be fully understood by anyone but herself. And that is okay. Because true strength is not in seeking validation. It is in knowing that what she has given, what she has endured, and what she has built is enough. With or without acknowledgement. A woman's boundaries are not rules to be debated or compromises to be made. They are a reflection of her self-worth, her standards, and her deepest understanding of what she deserves. They are not up for negotiation. Too often women are taught to be accommodating, to bend, to adjust, to make others comfortable, even at the cost of their own comfort. But the moment a woman allows her boundaries to be questioned, bargained with, or ignored, she teaches others that her needs are optional. And the truth is, they are not. Boundaries are not about control. They are about self-respect. A woman who sets clear boundaries is not being difficult. She is being intentional about what she will and will not allow into her life. She understands that those who truly respect her will never ask her to compromise the things that matter most to her. The mistake many women make is believing that if they love someone, they should be flexible with their boundaries. But love should never require self-betrayal. A woman who allows a man to repeatedly cross her limits with the excuse of love is not proving her commitment. She is proving her willingness to settle. The moment a woman says it's okay when it's not, the moment she lets something slide just to keep the peace, she chips away at her own self-worth. Because every time she accepts less than she deserves, she teaches herself that less is all she will get. A woman's energy, time, emotions, and body are sacred. Who she shares them with, how she shares them, and under what conditions should never be dictated by someone else's expectations. When a man truly respects a woman, he does not test her boundaries, he honors them. He does not push to see how far she will bend, he admires her for standing firm. A woman's boundaries also define her power in ways that extend beyond relationships. They impact her career, her friendships, and her ability to navigate the world with confidence. When a woman says no to unpaid labor, to toxic friendships, to overcommitment, she is not being selfish. She is prioritizing herself. And that is the foundation of strength. Some will test her limits, some will ask for just this once, some will get upset when they realize they can no longer manipulate her. But a woman must remember, those who get angry at her boundaries are the ones who benefited from her having none. The strongest women are not the ones who endure the most pain or who prove their love through sacrifice. The strongest women are the ones who walk away when their standards are not met. They do not beg for respect, they expect it. They do not stay silent when disrespected. They remove themselves from situations that do not honor them. Boundaries are not about pushing people away, they are about attracting the right ones. When a woman holds firm, she filters out those who do not value her and makes room for those who do. She does not lower her standards in fear of losing someone. She trusts that the right person will meet her where she stands. In the end, a woman's boundaries are not up for discussion. They are not a debate, they are not a test, and they are not a game. They are the rules of her life, and she alone decides them. The moment she stops negotiating them is the moment she steps into her full power, and the world adjusts accordingly. True strength is not always loud. It does not always announce itself in grand gestures or dramatic displays. Sometimes the strongest woman in the room is the one who carries the heaviest burdens without letting the world see her struggle. Her true strength lies in what she endures silently. A woman's life is filled with unseen battles, the sacrifices she makes, the pain she hides, the moments of doubt she pushes through. All of these shape her into someone unbreakable. But society often measures strength in how much noise a person makes, how forcefully they fight back, or how visibly they express their pain. The truth is, strength is not about proving anything to others. Strength is about knowing who you are and standing firm in that, even when no one else understands. Many women endure heartbreak, rejection, and disappointment, yet they wake up every day and continue to give love, to support others, to show up for their families, their careers, and their dreams. They do not seek sympathy. They do not ask for recognition. They do not broadcast their struggles for validation, because they know that resilience is not built in what is seen, it is built in what is survived. Silence does not mean weakness. In fact, it takes more strength to hold back a reaction than to lash out. It takes more courage to keep moving forward when life has knocked you down than to complain about how unfair the world is. A truly strong woman does not let pain define her, she lets it refine her. This does not mean she suppresses her emotions or refuses to seek help when needed. It means she understands the power of endurance, that some battles are fought best in solitude, that healing happens in the quiet moments when no one is watching. Men notice this kind of strength. They may not always understand it, but they respect it. A woman who does not seek validation for her pain, who does not use her struggles as leverage, commands a different kind of presence. She is not controlled by what happens to her. She is defined by how she rises from it. This silent endurance is what makes a woman unshakable. The heartbreak that didn't break her, the setbacks that didn't stop her, the disappointments that didn't make her bitter, all of these experiences shape her into someone who cannot be easily manipulated, discouraged, or defined by external circumstances. But just because she endures in silence does not mean she tolerates mistreatment. A strong woman knows the difference between resilience and self-betrayal. She does not endure for the sake of enduring. She does not stay in places that harm her. Her silence is not submission, it is self-control. She knows when to walk away. She knows when to let go. And she knows that the greatest power lies in choosing her battles wisely. In the end, true strength is not measured in how loudly a woman fights back, but in how steadily she stands when everything around her is trying to bring her down. She may never speak of the struggles she has faced, the night she cried in solitude, or the moments she doubted herself, but she carries the wisdom, the resilience, and the quiet power that comes from having endured it all, and that is why she wins. Not because she shouted the loudest, but because she never let the world see her break. Emotional depth is one of the most powerful qualities a woman possesses. It is the core of her intuition, her empathy, her ability to connect deeply with others. But it is also something that should be revealed over time, not all at once. In a world where instant gratification is the norm, many people rush to share everything about themselves too soon, laying bare their emotions, their fears, their dreams, and their past within the first moments of connection. But a woman who understands her value knows that true connection is built gradually. She does not pour out her entire heart in one moment, nor does she feel the need to prove her depth immediately. Instead, she allows it to unfold naturally, giving the right people the privilege of discovering her layers at the right time. When a woman reveals too much too soon, she risks overwhelming the person on the receiving end. More importantly, she risks giving away something that should be earned. Emotional vulnerability is a gift, and not everyone is deserving of it right away. Trust should be built first. A strong woman does not hide who she is, but she understands that some things are too valuable to be handed out freely to just anyone. This is not about playing games or withholding emotions. It is about self-respect and understanding that emotional connection should be a gradual process. Just as a great book does not reveal its entire story in the first chapter, a woman should not feel pressure to expose her entire emotional world all at once. Mystery is not deception, it is wisdom. When a woman allows her emotional depth to unfold naturally, she creates intrigue, she invites curiosity, she gives space for connection to grow at its own pace, and she ensures that the person in front of her is willing to take the time to understand her fully. A man respects a woman who reveals herself with intention. If she shares everything immediately, it may feel as though she is searching for validation rather than establishing a meaningful connection. But when she paces her emotional openness, it sends a message. I trust myself. I value my emotions. I will not reveal everything about me unless I feel safe and respected. Another reason emotional depth should be revealed over time is that it allows a woman to observe, to see if the person she is opening up to is capable of handling what she has to offer. Too often people rush into emotional intimacy only to realize later that the other person was not emotionally mature enough to reciprocate. But when a woman paces her vulnerability, she can gauge whether the other person is truly invested in understanding her, whether they are emotionally available, and whether they are worthy of deeper access to her heart. This also applies to relationships beyond romance. Friendships, business relationships, and even family dynamics all benefit from emotional pacing. When a woman establishes boundaries around her emotional world, she ensures that the people in her life truly appreciate the depth she brings, rather than taking it for granted. At the heart of this idea is self-trust. A woman who trusts herself knows that her emotional world is not something to be given away freely. She knows that real connection does not need to be rushed, and that true intimacy is not about immediate disclosure, but about mutual trust built over time. When she reveals her depth intentionally, layer by layer, in the right moments with the right people, she ensures that her emotions are valued, protected, and understood. And that is where her greatest power lies.